Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union Podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Savage Nathan Savage. And on the boards, we have the Soulman, Brian Solack. How's it going, Nathan?
Good. I mean, this is as good as it gets. I had to all week kind of put my Seahawks fandom in a different compartment so I could focus on life. And then the weekend's here, and now all that hype from, the past couple weeks, I can soak it all up, watch some great videos, see, Bobby Wagner had a great Man of the Year speech, some of that stuff. So it's just a great time to be a fan of the NFL and especially a Seahawks fan this year.
Gotcha. Now, are you having the same problem as our Southwest Seahawk, where all the women are constantly throwing themselves at you, and you're like, I got to focus on Seahawks?
I would say no, but I think I've learned my lesson in the past where those 20-person, 30-person parties are super fun, but you end up, missing a lot of the Superbowl. So I will not probably be going to a large, just, with close friends watching the game. It'll be super nice. And
yeah, I have a long time ago made that decision myself, where if the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, I will only be watching with Seahawk fans. And if it's Super Bowl I don't care about, I'll go to one of those big parties, because there was a time, I want to say it was the Bears versus the Colts, where I really wanted to watch the game, and I got stuck in at someone's house. I got all the people yakking were in the front row on the nice couch.
Yeah.
And I'm standing behind them, like, shut up. And then you know what happens when the commercial comes on? Everybody shuts up.
Yeah. I've been at that type of thing too. I mean, on that one, you probably blinked and all of a sudden Bears were up 7-0, right? Because Devin Hester took that opening kickoff for a touchdown and off to the races. So I agree with you. I think for me, it was an Eagles-Patriots one where, I just didn't get to watch a lot of the game. People were roaming around, going in front of the TV constantly. And I get it at a bar for sure. It's no problem. There's TVs everywhere. But if it's like a get together and exactly, it's not a lot of people who are thinking too much about football. You feel like you see about 10% of the game and maybe have to go rewatch it after.
Yeah, at a bar, at least everybody is they're focused on the game itself.
And the TVs are up high. There's so many of them. You usually kind of will be able to see 2 or 3 from different angles. So
yeah. Well, hey, those social parties are the event of the Super Bowl, and those social parties are not going to stop happening. The best you can do is extract yourself if you want to watch the game. And everybody has to have that certain point in their life where they're like, this is acceptable for what I want or not. One of the best Super Bowls I ever watched was with our soccer expert, Rich Michelson, where he and I just watched it at my apartment at the time. And it was just he and I. We sat there and talked about football. I want to say it was the Falcons versus Broncos, Falcons.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 28-3, was it? Different Falcons Super Bowl.
No, different Falcons one. This was the Soulman, correct me on that. I believe, no, the Falcons did not play. Who did the Falcons lose to in the 90s? It was the Eugene Robinson, he had the night with the hooker before. And I think it was
that John Elway Broncos?
I want to say so. Soulman says Denver. So, okay. Yeah, that was the first Super Bowl I ever sat down and just watched with a friend for the actual game itself. Growing up, it was always a party. I remember having a party, Nathan, for the 2013 Super Bowl, the one that we blew out the Broncos. I invited people, but they all invited other people, and it's like, what are all these people doing in my apartment? I remember inviting 4 people, and now there's 15.
That one was a fun one, but I'm not gonna lie, that was one where I woke up in the morning and had to double check if the Seahawks won or not.
It seemed like a dream, didn't it?
It was a big college party, and we luckily had stadium seating so you could see the whole time. But I mean, that's the dream type of game I want this game to be. I know a lot of people have told me, hey, I want to see a close game, but I get that. That's fun. But when it's your team, you want to see them blow them out. No stress. You can get up, go to the bathroom whenever you need to because you're up 20. That was a great game. So, but
Well, you said
I,
that was the dream. That was the dream. The nightmare was the year after, right?
yeah, I mean, I didn't realize until this Rams game because I thought, hey, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. I think it was this one right here that they won. But the following year, after that, I kind of chilled a little bit because I was like, hey, we already won one. It's not like the Mariners where we're just trying to get any sort of gratification from watching the team. But I learned again at this Rams game that like, oh man, okay, these Seahawks can still stress me out on a whole nother level. I was just feeling like Stafford was doing anything he wanted to all game. And it reminded me that I think there's a little bit of, festering or a little bit of PTSD from that throw at the 1 yard line because
Yeah.
I still really want to see them win. So
Our
yeah.
our producer, the Soulman, Brian Solack, insists and has promised that it'll be a blowout. So you have his word on it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not alone. I think a lot of the experts I've seen have at least had it over 10. I know Berman had it like 27-16 or something. The more I hear that, honestly, the more nervous I get.
I
But
get nervous too
it's good to
because
hear. Yeah,
I feel like the Patriots Super Bowl before uh what year was that, 2014 season? So
yeah.
yeah, 2015 I guess it'd technically be.
Yeah, it
But
might have been 2013 to 2014, though.
yeah,
And
but
and yeah,
my point is that before that Patriots Super Bowl, everybody was shooting their mouth off about how we're just going to steamroll
I know.
the Patriots. It's
Uh,
not like the Patriots this year are just going to lie down and let it happen.
yeah. Yeah, and I think we're talking about quarterbacks. I felt like going into that last one, Tom Brady it was in that era where he somehow seemed to will his team to victory. I don't know if May's there yet, but he was one vote away from winning MVP. He had a great year, and he's a legit quarterback. So we'll
Yeah,
see. But there's no asleep teams or there's no weak teams when it comes to the Super Bowl. Every team that can make it that far with the way the NFL set up, the playoff system, the salary cap, there's studs all across their roster.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I mean, let's take a look at the Patriots for example. Vrabel, you know, turning the team around in 1 year. It was pretty evident that it wasn't like the players were bad. It's just the coach can make that big of an influence. Uh,
yeah,
I mean,
and because the coach was bad, they could stack a ton of good players that maybe were underperforming, and then the coach comes in and he's like, "Oh my gosh, look at all this talent I have to work with." And a guy like Vrabel, I remember kind of wanting him when we got McDonald. I'm of course very happy with McDonald, but I
yeah,
think that is a valid strategy to building some of these just unreal rosters. Let a coach flounder with the team, and then bring in one of these top coaches. I don't think you can really repeat it, but it's what the Patriots did, and it's worked very well for them.
yeah. Well, I mean, and whatever you want to say about Kraft going to Florida and getting handsy, or get having someone get handsy on him. He's still a good owner of a football team, as in so much that he's been able to turn that ship around in what, 4 years? Like it.
Yeah, and
That's the typical.
he's still the guy where there's a decent chance our playbook has somehow ended up in New England. Rumors come out, he's going to go the extra mile to get every single gray area or not advantage that he can get into this game. And so I think, I could definitely see opening drive. Wait, what happened? They seem to know our plays or some of that. So, yeah, we just have to take them really seriously. That's been their MO. They
Yeah.
do
See, I
not
always thought
mess
that
around.
I always thought that was a Belichick thing, and I thought that's why he didn't get in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I do think agree, but I think Belichick got hired because him and Kraft saw things very similarly in terms of that. And I also think, for me, it's a gray area. I actually don't get that upset about some of the taping things um,
Yeah,
or the
deflated
deflate gate
balls.
at all. Yeah, I don't like, in my opinion, those weren't set rules. And also, as we saw with them getting out of the Hall of Fame, and we've heard, the NFL changed a lot of rules to try to um, go against the Patriots and what they're doing. So I
So,
just think like things that are gray areas that we would maybe consider, our local high school team kind of cheating. I just think that the Patriots are going to be doing all of that. If there's some old McDonald cast off that knows his old system, the Patriots are bringing him in for the weekend. if there's some way of getting a playbook around, like those type of things that we'd kind of frown on a little bit, but I don't think would get your team banned or considered kind of a gray area. I just assume we're going to start the game and things that the Seahawks have done all season, they're going to poke a little bits of holes in them because I do think they're just going to be so prepared. Brable's, a Belichick guy through and through as well. And I just think that's, the Patriots, that's one of the reasons they're in the Super Bowl is they, dot every I, even some of the gray eyes. And they're legit. Yeah.
Are you saying if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying?
I don't even call it cheating. I think it's just part of the rules, right? Like, I think I heard when Ben Johnson, wasn't too nice to LaFleur on the Packers after the game. LaFleur went and met with McVay or had a phone call with McVay and gave him all the scouting report on the Bears because they paid him twice. And that for me, that's just part of the NFL, right? We've seen examples with, the coach that lost against the Patriots last week where he was paying players to injure the opponents, right, on defense with bounty getter. This is the hyper competitive world. I definitely don't want to make this story about cheating because I don't consider this cheating. It's just every single little inch that they can scratch for and reach for. It's a team, especially like the Patriots, is going to do. And so I assume that we're going to face things that we haven't faced all season. And I trust this team, but, early in the game, I think Patriots could go on a drive that we haven't seen all year, or they could poke holes in what Darnold's doing, do some traps like what McVay did with the Rams, and they're just going to be really well coached.
So, okay, so you are okay with that. You're okay with you're okay with Florence Griffith Joyner doing steroids, and you're
No.
okay. No. And you're okay with the Houston Astros. Is that what you're saying? You're
No,
okay with all
and
this?
for me,
Okay.
that's where, like, if the Patriots team, right, was at practice right now somehow, they got some, fan, quote unquote, or whatever, and he was videotaping our game plan for the game.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you should. In my opinion, you should kick the coach out of the league, kick the owner.
Wait,
I really don't like that. But there is this gray area where it's okay, in my opinion, to Mike McDonald's old college teammate or what, or Harbaugh's old coach that worked with McDonald on the Ravens. I think it's okay in the end. Like, how can you police all of those type of things?
well, there's
And
never any real punishment for cheating in sports. Barry Bonds got away with it. He's not giving any of that money back that he made. Does the Hall of
yeah,
Fame really matter to him? No, it doesn't matter to him.
yeah,
You look at uh, the Astros. Are they giving back any of their world titles? No.
yeah,
Pick any SEC team from the last 15 years. They got away with a ton of paying players, and they're not giving back
yeah.
any of their wins.
No, and that's where that's where I get pretty bummed out about that stuff is
Yeah.
I think for me with Barry Bonds though, it's a little bit of like they had such a gray area on steroids and then out of the blue they got very strict about it. I would have liked them to do like what the NBA did where, hey, next year, just so you know, 365 days from now, we're going to give you a test. NFL did it as well.
Yeah.
If you are doing anything, we're not saying that you're doing anything, but if you are, stop before the test. And I think baseball kind of messed that up with how they just went straight into super stringent testing and threw all the players on the bus. But I think like, so for me, Barry Bonds, I don't like what he did in any way, but guys that stick out to me a little more are someone like A-Rod or someone like what the Astros were doing,
What
where they
no
had
one
this video camera and trash can, and it was so obviously illegal, and it wasn't this like gray area heading into banning things. So,
yeah.
but man, guys like A-Rod, the Astros thing, that it's just a bummer that they do get a slap on the wrist.
What no one talks about, and no one is prepared to agree with me on, not Soulman, not Matt Page, and I doubt you.
Yeah,
Steroids saved baseball.
I agree with you.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, and I think I just think they weren't really testing for some of these things yet, and I just think the way that the MLB went about it, almost where it was like putting all these players on trial, and I think, from my
It's
opinion,
dog and
something like
pony show.
yeah, and what the NBA did and the NFL did, in my opinion, is a lot better. Where it's like, I mean, you can see videos of old players of previous generations for both, and and see kind of the way they looked versus now, and they're just carrying so much more muscle on them for
Yeah.
you know a reason that we kind of know, but what that was part of the game, right? Everyone was doing it. It wasn't tested for. You know how athletes are going to be. They're going to take every advantage they get. I'm sure there's things athletes are taking now that will maybe get tested for in the future that they're okay with at the moment. So
Yeah.
for me,
Well, I mean,
I think the MLB just kind of messed that up, sadly.
yeah, they did. But I mean, the biggest thing is, with the steroids is the recovery. Speaking of recovery, and speaking of football, not baseball, like we've been droning on about,
Yeah.
Seahawks are playing next to the power plant. You concerned of any ACLs popping left and right?
Nothing. Zero concern. And
Zero
then we
concern.
wake
Okay.
up and Emin Worry sprains his ankle. He's limping around. Yeah. I hate injuries. It's such a big part of football, and you have to play with them, and you can't really talk about them too much because everyone's dealing with them. But it's really sad. I was going back and looking at the last Super Bowl they lost to the Patriots, and I forgot, right, that
Half the
Lane, right,
defense was
broke his
out.
arm and
Yeah.
planning like freak injury, and then Avril's injured, and I think Cam Chancellor played on like a partially torn MCL. Like I just wish we had full
Sherman
strength.
wasn't. Yeah, Sherman wasn't at 100% either.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, it would have been nice full strength, but I mean, them's the breaks, right?
yeah.
Uh,
It's part of the NFL. Yeah,
literally.
yeah,
with Eric Lane, literally, them's was a break.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, we were talking about this with the Southwest Seahawk Rob English. Uh, the the Seahawks winning, if they could win, at the Levi Stadium, isn't that just the cherry on top to stick it to 49er fans?
It's not only the cherry for me. That's McDonald. Like that's who Mike McDonald is. I actually feel more comfortable, and I think they were undefeated on the road this year. Right. I just feel very comfortable with the Seahawks team on the road, and especially in the most hostile environments. I just think they play so well in Santa Clara. I'm really excited for what this team does, and I actually, you know, this is one that probably no one will agree with me, but I'm almost happier that it's in Santa Clara than in, say, Seattle for this
Making it,
game, because that's this Seahawks team. They go into your house, they go into our number one rival's house and go win the Super Bowl there. That will just be the cherry on top of what they've done all year for me.
yeah. Another thing that we discussed with Rob, I want to discuss with you, since you're the numbers guy, you're the nerd living in your mother's basement,
Yeah,
just looking at stats all day. Um, I read where the Seahawks have the number one rush defense, and they're doing it ridiculously strangely compared
yeah,
to football history, in that
yes,
they're running nickel defense. So
yeah,
that means five defensive backs,
yeah,
and they're still stopping the run without
yeah,
stacking the box. For those who don't know what
yeah,
this means, in normal defenses, you have to take away from the defensive backs to stop the run. You have to bring them up to the line. But the Seahawks aren't doing that. In fact, they're adding extra defensive backs and still stopping the run
yeah,
better than everybody else.
yeah,
This is crazy. It doesn't make
yeah,
any sense.
yeah. It's insane, and that's where I don't really like to say it's deserved or not deserved, because there's so many teams and so many good rookies. But for me, that should, in my opinion, should have been a big boost for Emin Worry, is he is kind of the X factor. He's a big reason this can happen. Some of the defensive linemen were saying, "Yo, get out of our way! Like, what are you doing? Why are you lining up on the line? You're a safety. What are you doing consistently?" I think he lined up over 80 times, and was like four of the other guys are all pros, from the defensive backs to line up on the line that consistently. And I mean, the more this week has gone on, the more I've just really enjoyed what McDonald does. I think he just baits teams in, right? And I'm really excited for this against May, because I think May likes to throw a lot of short passes, and that's the Seahawks' strength. Is they almost bait you into throwing these 2-yard passes, thinking, oh, you'll get 5-6, and they're just so quick to the line. And I think this same thing is part of why they're so successful against the run. Is on any running play, our defensive backs just are so quick to the line. Sometimes, like with Emin Worry, they literally start on the line, which is so wild. And yeah, I mean, it all depends on if we win, right? But if we win, I think there's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot of copycats trying to do what McDonald's doing.
To your
Yeah,
point, a lot of people talk about the Seahawks and their ability cover man, which is really good. However, what the best thing that they're doing is running they flood the zones and they do what's cover six. For those who don't know what that means they have six guys covering a specific spot, and uh, so they're not covering a guy one on one down the field. It's everybody being, you know, precise and being disciplined to stay where they're supposed to be. And if you look at the numbers, actually Drake May's not very good against cover six.
I mean, I looking at the numbers, for me, passing is going to be a huge problem. I think
For whom?
passing has been a huge problem all season for the Patriots,
Patriots.
or
Okay.
all playoffs. Sorry, not all season. They had an MVP basically winner in the regular season, but during the playoffs, passing has been a huge problem, and I think this is the best. I think this is the
Pass
best
defense.
May has faced. So for me, it's going to be. I don't think we've faced a runner like May. I think he's like heading towards the Josh Allen route, and he's really good as a runner. I don't think we've faced that this year. So for me, I see that. I want to see how McDonald responds to that. Exactly like you said, though, I'm not too worried about the just standard running game. I'm not too worried about the, sit in the pocket and passing game. And I think New England must know that. And they're going to try to, pull May out of the pocket, try to run, try to just poke some holes in this defense. I assume McDonald's going to be, up to the challenge as he's been all year. But for me, exactly like you said, I think our strengths match up too well with what they do kind of base or their standard offense. And they're going to have to mix things up a lot. And I think if they win, it'll be because Drake May ran the ball.
So you're saying that Kyler Murray is not the runner he once was?
No, and for me, it's not this like shifty runner because we also face that in Bryce Young. I
Yeah.
think it's this Josh Allen runner where it's like our defense is so good at holding you to 2 yards and then hitting you and keeping you at 2 yards. I think what May does is number one, I think he's a really good passer. I think a much better passer than
Well,
Murray.
then
So he
Kyler Murray,
forces
yeah,
you to
definitely.
worry about the pass. And then his running style is in my opinion, so north and south, just get to, 4 yards, 5 yards, whatever, open up the field. And I think that's the type of thing that the Seahawks are going to have to take seriously because that'll lead to a lot of first downs. And I do feel like, we saw it with like Phillip Rivers or some of these QBs. If you can turn these 2 yards plays, 3 yards plays against the Seahawks into 4 or 6 yards plays, I think that's really good against what we do as a defense. So for me, yeah, I don't think it's like Kyler Murray where he's just going to be running around everywhere, 20-yard runs, whatever. I think it's these like 5, 6 yard, 10-yard runs from the quarterback position that might force McDonald to change the defense. I assume the defense will be fine after that, but that might be a worry at some point.
It's kind of fascinating. The Drake May was maybe Soulman can look this up for us. I think Drake May was like the third or fourth quarterback taken. Uh, I,
Maybe second. I think second overall, maybe.
second, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember, I remember him being taken. I thought he should have been like the first quarterback taken, and I just
Yeah.
remember that there seemed to be a shift towards uh, the Kyler Murray types, the Bryce Youngs, the
Yeah, it was either Bryce Young or Caleb Williams, I think that went. I think it was Bryce Young though that went first overall over May.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I definitely thought. I think you need. I think you need a tall quarterback. I there is the rare occurrence where a Russell Wilson or a Lamar Jackson come along, but with Kyler Murray and Bryce Young, I'm just like Tua. Like these aren't gonna happen. Like they're not all gonna hit. And I'd rather have the bigger guy that can run like a Josh Allen or a Drake May.
Yeah, and I think it became a trend, and I think it almost became a trend. I think some of the old, it feels like the best era of quarterbacks has passed us. And now it feels like a lot of these quarterbacks rely on their offensive coordinator talking their ear for 15 seconds, right? Before they shut off the the mic now, when before it would be shut off right away. And a lot of that scheming and looking at the defense and reading blitzes is done from the coordinator position. And the quarterbacks seem to be a lot more athletic, and that's where they thrive is their just unreal arm, their legs, the way they move around in the pocket. But it seems like when we saw the most dominant version of the quarterback is, like you said, these tall quarterbacks that could stand in the pocket, read the defense, know exactly what you were running before you were running it and just pick you apart. And
Yeah.
again, I think Philip Rivers is, you know, they didn't score that much, but he scared me because he seemed to be able to pick apart the what we were doing a little bit. And I think definitely Stafford all year long was just so scary because he was, you know, that old school style and ability to do that. So yeah, I'm not as worried really on that side of the ball. I would say I think this is the best defense the Patriots has faced all year. And I think over the course of the playoffs, they've looked terrible against other, you know, pretty solid defenses. So
Yeah.
um, just in a
The,
standard game, they got to muck it up, I think. And that's where I'm nervous. You know, May
yeah.
running, getting those extra couple yards, maybe May running over and over, dinking and ducking. And then finally they're just, you know, they have some really good running backs, unreal running backs, get some room and house one or two, right? Like Kenneth Walker likes to do. I think that's what I'm worried about.
I got a note here from the Soulman. May was behind Jaden Daniels and Williams. Who was
Oh,
Williams?
so third overall then. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was Caleb Williams from USC who's on the Bears, then
I thought
Jaden, and
Caleb
then
Williams went out in the. Oh yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
All right.
1 year after Bryce Young. Dang. Yeah, I didn't remember
Yeah.
that either, actually. I thought he went the year before, but yeah, that makes sense.
Wait, I thought Caleb Williams came out in the Bo Nix, Michael
He did.
Penix track.
Yeah, he did.
So it went Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, then Drake May,
If yeah, I mean, I trust what the producers say for
and
sure.
then Bo,
And I
and then
remember a ton of QBs were drafted. That's why I was so stoked that draft because we're
yeah,
looking at these offensive weapons, QBs going off the board, and just sitting there. Seahawks needed defense. I think
we
the
got the
Seahawks
number
play the
two.
best when they get defense, and yeah, we
Yeah,
got Murphy.
we got the number
yeah,
we got the number two defensive player. We could have
yeah,
had Jared Verse, but
yeah,
I'm not unhappy with
yeah.
uh with uh, uh
Murphy. Yeah,
Murphy. Thank you. I keep thinking of the Husky player, Byron Murphy, but he's not. He's the Texas guy. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, Byron Murphy the second, right?
yeah.
Um, has been amazing. But you're right. Let's take a look at the other side of the ball because I have no doubt that the Seahawks defense will do what they do. Um, but oh, by the way, actually, no. Let's stay on defense for one more second because there was another interesting stat, and that was quarterbacks under the age of 25 when they played the Seahawks are actually the quarterback ratings in the 70s. Like it's McDonald knows how to pick apart young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, this is the best defense they've played. They've looked pretty terrible against defenses who are, you know, we consider the other top defenses in the NFL this year. He's gotten sacked 5 times or more in every single game of the playoffs. I mean, if this was only played on one side of the ball, I think, you know, 4.5, the odds at 4.5 for the Seahawks would be a lot higher.
Yeah. But it's played on both sides. And actually, the Patriots defense is damn good. And it could be the matter of, like you said, do we do silly mistakes? Is there a fumble here? Is there an interception there? Yeah. Is it taking the defense too lightly? That's where I definitely could see the problems. But I think what we're going to see is a rush heavy attack. But last night, the Southwest CX said he wants more of a balanced approach. What say you?
Um, you know, for me, it's worked all year. And it's especially, I think, turned on. Um, you know, sadly, Charbonnet's injured, but I think Walker, I think that whole game against the Rams, you know, Darnold played as good of a game as it gets. I cannot say enough positive about Darnold, but it seemed like we put the Rams back on their heels to start with because of Walker.
Yeah,
And I'm so excited about what he does because I do think matchup wise, this is a very scary Patriots team for what we do. I've been seeing so many videos about JSN. You know, he won Offensive Player of the Year. He's an absolute stud. The Patriots, you know, with some of their tanking and things, got Christian Gonzalez. And when he came back from injury halfway through the year, they became a completely different team. He's up there. He might be the best corner in the NFL. You know, there's 5 or 6 that can stake a claim to that, but he
yeah.
is just unreal. And he's going to play JSN really well. I think, you know, JSN still might get his 120, but I think in order for that to happen, we have to run the ball well and set that up
Are,
because we
you
just
think he's
don't
going
do
to play
enough, I
man?
think, passing. Yeah.
You think he's going to play man, or do you think he that they play double coverage on JSN and put Gonzalez on the slot.
I think they're gonna probably double covered with. I don't think even. I mean, I think we saw it with the Texans too, where they try to do it with Stingley. Stingley and Gonzalez might be the top two corners in the NFL. I think they're gonna always shadow JSN, no matter what you do. But you can see with like the Rams try to shadow JSN, and it didn't go very well, right? We schemed them, but I think at that level of athlete that they have with Gonzalez, I just think some of the issues that the Rams had against JSN, he just might out skill some of those problems, right? We might have an open JSN. He might close the gap in time to knock that ball down, and then JSN doesn't make that one-handed catch on the sideline, right? They might have a broken coverage, but he can recover back over the top and get up and knock the ball down on that wide open pass at the end of the half for the touchdown. I just think when you have these type of players, whether it's zone or man, you just see them all over the field, and they make differences, and they make the windows tighter for Darnold. And if JSN is the target, which I think he will be the number one target, even though our running game, his stats are so unreal because we ran the ball more than any other team and still led the NFL in receiving yards.
Yeah.
And I think for me, part of that is because he's so good because of what Kubiak does and forces the defense to do and stack the box. And then you just can't see. Christian Gonzalez can't even single coverage JSN. But that's where I think if we don't get the running game going, if we don't get Darnold comfortable early, they do have the weapons, especially Gonzalez, to make life too difficult for JSN to just be wide open on every play, just charge down the field like we did at the end of the first half against the Rams. So for me, I think that's scary. That's one of the best corners against our best guy, and I'm very curious to see what happens.
Right on. I look at heavy usage. Like, I want this every freaking week, and I keep saying it every week. In the last 5 weeks, it hasn't happened. I want to see some more tight end play. I want to see more out of AJ Barner. And I don't know what the status of Elijah Arroyo, but if he's available, use him. Get Eric Saubert in there. And, if they're just going to triple team JSN, somebody's got to be open, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, for me too, though, it's the same. People always get mad. Hey, why doesn't Kittle have 200 yards every game? He could, but sometimes, and I've gotten better at watching this than I used to. Sometimes it's just really fun to have tight ends that are just blowing people up in the second level and just
Sure.
making these huge holes for Walker. Yeah, it's a 6-yard play normally. Sometimes it's 50 because Walker's, a speed demon and just can fly out of there. But sometimes that 6-yard play led by the tight end, to me lately has almost been as exciting as that 10-yard first down.
Yeah,
And I think, and just the
especially,
way, yeah,
especially in that 49ers division round, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me, Barner, that celebration, like that Transformers robot celebration, has kind of grown on me because he just sometimes, like, he's big. He's gotten so much bigger than last year. Sometimes the way he's blocking people, he just looks like just a jacked robot, just blowing up these holes, running down the field. He looks a little bit superhuman out of there, a little bit just like Cyborg or whatever, just blowing people up. And I don't know. I just think if we're watching that happen, we might have a better chance of winning doing that than getting the tight ends 10 yards on first down or whatever. Because if we're keeping our tight ends on the line, blowing people up, that means our running game's going well. And I think if our running game goes well, everything else, falls into place.
Indeed. Who's your key player on offense?
Man, I'm really curious to see like just beyond curious to see what Shaheed can do against this team. I know I normally, have been kind of quiet about him, but I've liked him all year. And I think, again, we talk about, setting up the game. That first pass to Shaheed might have won the game right there, right? That 50-yard pass over the top is so scary. Teams have to take it seriously. And I do think this Patriots team, might get lost in the hubbub and the hype and everything. Just like, I'm worried the Seahawks might too of the Super Bowl, and they might let one of those go. If that pass is thrown a little bit, 2 or 3 inches further, Shaheed takes that to the house. And I could definitely see that happening in the Super Bowl. It feels like these Tyreek Hill deep plays, these over the top passes, to Devontae Smith or otherwise that we've seen lately. It just feels like something about it opens up in the Super Bowl. Something about the lights and everyone looking in the backfield trying to stop the run, it opens up these deep passes, and I hope Shaheed gets one.
So I was talking again on the podcast previous to this with the Southwest Seahawk, and offensive for our offense versus their defense, it seems like like a even clash. I think we got the edge on defense. However, I think special teams ours is just so much better than everybody else. I mean, on
Yeah, that's
Dixon,
tough because in the
constantly
playoffs, the Patriots have been number one, actually.
have they? But okay,
Yeah.
you can say that. But Dixon, my God, this entire year he's been putting people inside the 20.
Yeah.
We saw one flub from Jason Myers, and my first thought when he missed that field goal a couple weeks ago was like, oh, he doesn't usually miss. Like against the second game against Niners, like
Yeah.
he's been Mr. Always on. And then once we got Shaheed, the kick return game, even when he doesn't return the ball, did you watch during the last two playoff games? The Rams and the Niners constantly kicked it in the end zone,
Yeah.
putting us at the 35,
Yeah.
which is a huge win in my opinion.
Oh yeah, unreal. Just absolutely unreal, especially in a game of inches. Unreal. That's where I would say I disagree a little bit though, where that's another thing I looked at that made me kind of nervous. Because I think we just, like you said, we blew out what the Rams and Niners do with our special teams. I'm very curious to see if the Patriots kick it to us. They are also a young, fast, very deep roster that has a lot of very solid NFL players playing on special teams for them.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we might be better. I think we're probably better, but I don't think.
But it's not as big a distance.
Yeah, and it was
as-
so egregious against the Niners and the Rams. It was like it probably honestly won us. I mean, Niners game is what it is, but we took the opening kickoff to the house. That set everything up. So you could, in a
That had
sense, say if we didn't play another offensive snap for the rest of the game against the Niners, we win the game because of special teams. And then against the Rams, I think it's what really won us the game, right? That fumble recovery and like you said, getting to the 35-yard line every time. So, yeah, I mean, I hope so. I do think the Patriots and the AFC have been a little weaker of a conference. Maybe they just matched up better with some of those teams there that they played, and they didn't play the special teams to the level of the Seahawks. I do think, though, they're pretty solid compared to what we've seen recently.
I don't buy the schedule thing because it's pros, it's not college. You can only play the people on your schedule.
Yeah.
And then two, it goes back to what you and I were discussing last year when the Seahawks lost to the Giants.
Yeah.
You got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
And that was the difference between the Seahawks missing the playoffs and getting in the playoffs, was losing to a much inferior team.
Yeah.
Which the Patriots don't do. They put their foot on the necks and they, on the necks of their enemy and win.
Yeah, and I hope I trust McDonald, but I hope any of this 4.5 point underdog thing is just not even a conversation. I honestly hope it's the opposite. I think this team plays better as an underdog. I hope McDonald's telling the team, or the team's convinced they're the major underdogs going this game and everyone's downing them, because I just think this team plays better that way. But I don't know. It seems almost impossible, with, in my opinion, Kraft leaking some of these Jody Allen rumors, Kubiak information coming out. It just seems so impossible to escape the distraction of the Super Bowl. And I think, that's why teams like the Chiefs or teams like the Patriots won so many and would win them consecutively, is because they knew how to, tune out all the bright lights, and a lot of younger teams would play them. And even though, in my opinion, the roster was always leaning towards the team playing, Tom Brady or Mahomes, they would will their team to victory. And I think a big part of it is keeping this noise out, just focusing on the game.
There's some noise, but I mean, like, there's been worse. There was that offensive lineman for the Raiders that went to Mexico right before the Super Bowl. And there's Eugene Robinson with his hooker, the night before. I mean, there's been much worse. You're too young for this. Stanley Wilson, I think's the guy's name. The Bengals were the favorite to beat the 49ers in the 80s. And he went on a coke binge the night before and got kicked off the team. So, I mean,
I do think the NFL is not, they have things too locked down for that. But, just your brain is your brain, and sitting there for 2 weeks, I'm sure it's just going to react.
and
It's
you have
just acting.
21-year-olds. And you have
Yeah, and it's
21
just
year olds with money.
yeah, and it's just even if they don't go out or otherwise, they're going to be sitting there in their room, prepping. Just this is a different animal, the Super Bowl. It is
Yeah.
what it is, but it is a completely different animal. The way the fans are there, the way the media hypes you up, the way you get an extra week off, the training, everything. It all matters at this level, being comfortable training your way, other things. And I think the best teams shrug that off, no problem,
Yep.
right? Rams went and played in the snow. Patriots went and played in the snow. Seahawks had to play, that team they didn't want to face at home and somehow figured it out, willed themselves on 4 straight downs to shut down Stafford and win the game. And I think they're pros, so usually
Yep.
they will figure it out. But I think an average human, you or me, even if we don't go out drinking or doing whatever, the bright lights would severely impact us and impact
Yeah.
our ability to think and function out on the football field. And so I assume it's not going to be a big deal, but I think plays that maybe we haven't seen all year might come about. Hopefully they're going the Seahawks way, but it's the real deal. So there'll be a
So
lot of extra things going on.
cool. Well, we're getting towards the end of our show here. Who do you have? What's the score?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I just think again against the Niners in particular, this reminds me a little bit. Not as many injuries for the Patriots, but it just feels like on so many parts of the game we have the edge. So I'm gonna trust, Chris Berman, and I'm gonna say 27-16 Seahawks.
Yeah, it's not far off from the Soulman, our producer. He said 29-13 Seahawks. I think it's a low scoring game, and I think it's more like 17-10, to be honest.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's why they play the game.
Yeah.
You got a shout out for this week?
Yeah, I just if you haven't seen it, if anyone hasn't seen it, if anyone watching hasn't seen it, the Bobby Wagner won, Walter Payton's Man of the Year this year in his speech that he gave. It was a couple minutes long, before they played the music to send him off, but just unreal. Just so amazing that on that, Super Bowl winning team, we had 2 guys that won Walter Payton's Man of the Year. In my
Yeah.
opinion, that's the best award in sports.
Yep.
I just can't say enough positive about Bobby Wagner. It felt like we, on a team of a lot of talking heads and loud conversations, he was very quiet. But to hear him speak and say, where he's coming from to win that award is just, yeah, everyone should watch that speech.
And I believe he signed a 1-day contract with the Seahawks to retire. Am
I
I right
actually
about that?
I don't know if that was Twitter
Was
baiting
that a
you a little
rumor?
bit
Was
or
that a
not,
rumor or like
because
okay?
I think he wants to go for the combined tackles record next year.
Oh,
I
you
think
think he's not
he's less
retiring
than
at all
100
then?
away. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. That'd be nice to have one more run out of him. I'm going to give my shout out, as I did yesterday, to all the Seahawks fans, all the Seahawks players, all the Seahawks office staff, all the Seahawks concessionaires, ushers, parking attendants, everybody. It's been a great season, and it's all culminating into what I think can all admit we deserve as Seahawks fans. So big shout out to all of you, and then our producer, the Soul Man, wants to give a shout out to the Southwest Seahawk, Rob English. Condolences. His mother just passed away, so big
Yeah.
shout out to you, Rob English.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out,
Well,
Rob.
I want to thank everybody out there for listening to the Seattle Sports Union here on YouTube and on Spotify. Like us on uh, Facebook and subscribe, of course, as well. Check out our account on X. That's at Seattle Sports U. On behalf of the Soul Man Brian Solack, the Savage Nathan Savage, and myself, Abraham DeWeese. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. And can't thank everyone enough. What a season. Talking to you guys every week's been amazing. Yeah. Go Hawks.
There it is.